Welcome to the Daily Globe. Please subscribe and hit the bell icon for more breaking updates. Brussels is gripped by unease this November, a city where the chill in the air seems to seep into the very heart of European politics. The grand facades of the EU headquarters stand tall. But behind those walls, uncertainty is mounting. Diplomats and officials move briskly through the streets, their faces etched with concern, as if bracing for a storm that's been gathering for years. And it's not just the cold that's unsettling the city. There's a palpable tension, a sense that something fundamental is shifting beneath the surface. Conversations in cafes and corridors alike are dominated by one topic: Hungary's latest move. Hungary, long known as the EU's perennial rebel, has now declared its intention to join the BRICS Plus bloc, a coalition of emerging powers that stands in stark contrast to the Western alliances that have defined Europe for decades. This isn't just a diplomatic gesture, it's a bold statement of intent, signaling a dramatic realignment on the world stage. Prime Minister Viktor Orban's announcement has sent shockwaves through capitals from Washington to Beijing. For some, it's a seismic shift that could redraw the map of global alliances. For others, it's a dangerous gamble that threatens the very fabric of the European project. In Budapest, Orban frames this move as an act of national self-preservation, a necessary pivot away from what he describes as a declining West, toward the rising powers of the East. He tells his supporters that Hungary must chart its own course, free from what he sees as the stifling influence of Brussels and the old order. But this is more than just politics as usual. It's a direct challenge to the EU's unity, one that runs even deeper than the shock of Brexit. The very idea of European solidarity is being put to the test. As old wounds and new divisions come to the surface, Hungary's move forces the EU to confront a fundamental question: is it truly a political union, bound by shared values and destiny, or merely an economic club held together by convenience? The answer may determine the future of the continent. Across Europe, leaders scramble to respond. Should they punish Hungary, risking a deeper rift and perhaps even encouraging others to follow suit? Or should they accommodate, hoping to keep the union intact, but at the risk of emboldening more dissent within their ranks? The Danube, once a symbol of European unity and shared destiny, now seems to mark a new, defiant course. Its waters reflect the uncertainty of a continent at a crossroads, where old certainties are dissolving and new realities are taking shape. Around the world, eyes are fixed on Europe. As headlines flash and analysts debate, one thing is clear: this is a defining moment not just for Hungary or the EU, but for the future of the international order itself. The choices made in the coming weeks will echo far beyond Brussels, shaping the dawn, or the storm, that lies ahead. Hungary's journey with the EU began with hope in 2004, as the nation celebrated its accession with great enthusiasm. The streets of Budapest were filled with jubilant crowds waving EU flags, symbolizing a new era of prosperity and unity. However, this initial optimism was soon overshadowed by old anxieties about national sovereignty and identity. Many Hungarians began to feel that their country's unique culture and political autonomy were being threatened by the overarching influence of Brussels. The return of Viktor Orban to power in 2010 marked a significant shift in Hungary's political landscape. Orban, a charismatic and controversial figure, rewrote the constitution and championed the concept of a liberal democracy, which emphasized national sovereignty over EU integration. This new direction led to frequent clashes with Brussels, particularly over issues related to media freedom, judicial independence, and migration policies. Orban's government was often at odds with EU officials, who criticized Hungary for undermining democratic norms. Orban skillfully cast himself as the defender of Budapest against what he portrayed as EU overreach. This narrative resonated deeply with many Hungarians, who saw him as a protector of their national interests. The 2015 migrant crisis further amplified these sentiments. The migrant crisis and the ongoing war in Ukraine have only deepened the rift between Hungary and the EU. Hungary's defiance of EU policies, particularly its decision to maintain close ties with Russia, has been a point of contention. Orban's stance of putting Hungary first has often led to isolation within the European community. Despite this, he has remained steadfast, arguing that Hungary's sovereignty and national interests must come before EU directives. Years of ideological battles and the withholding of EU funds have set the stage for Hungary's pivot towards the BRICS nations. This move is seen as a strategic attempt to diversify Hungary's international alliances and reduce its dependency on the EU. The relationship between Hungary and the EU has soured significantly, with trust eroding on both sides. The once hopeful partnership has turned into a contentious and strained association. For many Hungarians, a break from the EU consensus has become not just possible, but desirable. The nation is deeply divided, with some advocating for closer ties with the EU, while others push for greater independence. Hungary's defiance has now reached its most dramatic point yet, as the nation stands at a crossroads, contemplating its future within or outside the European Union. Hungary's eastern opening was a decade in the making, not a sudden turn. Orbán saw China as a partner that offered investment without lectures, making Hungary a key belt and road gateway. Projects like the Budapest-Belgrade Railway and Fudan University campus cemented economic ties. Russia remained vital for energy, with Hungary securing exemptions from EU sanctions and expanding its nuclear partnership. Orbán insists his policy is pro-Hungarian, not pro-Russian, but his stance has isolated him in Europe. He believes the American-led order is fading, and that Hungary's future lies with rising powers. By aligning with BRICS, Orbán is making an ideological bet on a new global order. Hungary is staking its future on the east. Hungary's BRICS move is timed for maximum impact, both at home and abroad. Orbán sees a West weakened by division and war, and a BRICS bloc poised for growth. With elections looming, he frames the pivot as a choice between sovereignty and subservience to Brussels. The announcement is political theater, rallying his base and projecting strength. Globally, Orbán senses opportunity as the EU faces crisis and the US retreats. He's betting that BRICS will offer Hungary new markets and energy, insulating it from Europe's woes. It's a high-stakes gamble. Hungary could become a bridge between East and West, or end up isolated. The timing is as much about Orbán's political survival as Hungary's future. Just as Hungary turns east, it surprises everyone by joining the EU's Safe Defense Initiative. After abstaining, Budapest quietly applies for EU defense loans, citing pragmatic financial reasons. This move exposes Orbán's balancing act: defy Brussels in public, benefit from it in private. The contradiction is stark, joining a defense pact aimed at Russia while courting BRICS, which includes Russia. To the EU it looks like opportunism. To BRICS it signals unreliability. Hungary's economy remains tied to the West, even as it seeks new alliances. The country is caught between two worlds, risking trust on both sides. At the heart of Hungary's conflict with the EU is a battle of worldviews: Orbán's Hungarian model versus the Brussels model. Orbán rejects EU federalism, collective debt, and multiculturalism, championing low taxes, pro-family policies, and national sovereignty. His government offers tax breaks for families, keeps energy prices low, and enforces strict immigration controls. The 2026 election is framed as a referendum on sovereignty, Orbán's model or Brussels' influence. This binary choice resonates with voters who fear losing national identity. Orbán's experiment is watched by populists across Europe, making Hungary a test case for nationalist governance. The outcome will shape Europe's future: blueprint or cautionary tale. The ideological clash is about more than policy. It's about who controls Europe's destiny. Hungary's dramatic pivot toward BRICS has sent shockwaves rippling across the European continent, catching many by surprise and forcing leaders to confront a new reality. This move is not just a diplomatic gesture, it signals a profound shift in Hungary's foreign policy, one that challenges the established order and unsettles the balance of power within Europe. The European Union, already grappling with internal disagreements, now faces a fresh crisis as Hungary's decision shatters its fragile unity. Politically, this step institutionalizes division within the bloc, making consensus even harder to achieve on critical issues ranging from security to economic sanctions. Hungary's new alliances give Prime Minister Viktor Orbán unprecedented leverage, allowing him to block or delay EU actions against Russia and China. This newfound power could be used to extract concessions or shield allies from collective European pressure. On the economic front, Hungary's taken a significant risk. By cozying up to BRICS, it risks alienating its largest trading partner, the European Union, which accounts for the majority of Hungarian exports and investment. The potential for trade disruptions and loss of EU funding looms large. At the same time, Hungary is betting on the promise of new investment and economic opportunities from BRICS nations, but these prospects remain uncertain and untested. The gamble could pay off, or it could leave Hungary isolated and economically vulnerable. The stakes are especially high for Hungary's manufacturing sector. The German auto industry, a cornerstone of Hungary's economy, relies on seamless access to the EU market. If relations sour, these vital ties could unravel, threatening thousands of jobs and stalling economic growth. For the European Union, Hungary's defiance is more than a diplomatic headache. It may trigger calls for new disciplinary measures, including the suspension of voting rights or funding. Such steps could push the EU into an unprecedented institutional crisis, testing the limits of its cohesion. Meanwhile, Orbán's bold stance is inspiring right-wing populists across the continent, emboldening those who challenge Brussels' authority and fueling a growing wave of Euroscepticism. This surge in anti-EU sentiment threatens to undermine the post-war vision of a united, peaceful Europe, raising questions about the future of the European project itself. In Central and Eastern Europe, Hungary's move is viewed by many as a betrayal of regional solidarity, fracturing alliances that have been carefully built over decades and deepening mistrust among neighbors. The Kremlin stands to benefit from this discord, as both NATO and the EU's eastern flank appear weakened and less able to present a united front against external threats. The tremors from Budapest are not just symbolic, they are shaking the very foundations of Europe, leaving the continent at a crossroads and forcing leaders to rethink the future of European unity. Experts warn that Orbán's BRICS gamble is a dangerous precedent. He's testing whether a member can reject EU values but keep its benefits. Economists caution that tying Hungary's fate to unstable regimes like Russia and China is risky. The EU faces a dilemma: punish Hungary and risk martyring Orbán, or do nothing and invite further fragmentation. The Union's resilience and purpose are now on trial. As one diplomat put it, we're no longer a multi-speed Europe, but a multi-destination one. The status quo is untenable. Europe must choose its path. Hungary's move exposes the deep ideological rift within the EU. The coming months will test Europe's unity and resolve. The crossroads is here. Difficult choices await. Hungary's BRICS declaration is a turning point for Europe. Orbán is betting against the West, seeking prosperity and sovereignty with new allies. For Hungary, it's a leap into the unknown. For the EU, an existential crisis. The move exposes deep fissures in the Union and forces a reckoning with its identity. Hungary's path could be a cautionary tale or a new template for others. The outcome will be shaped by choices in Budapest, Brussels, and beyond. Europe's next chapter is unwritten, and the world is watching.